County budget problems may mean the end to a massive project. We'll take a look at what happened. Plus, how will your money be spent in the state next year? And why the opening of a grocery store in Detroit is a big deal. MiWeek starts right now.
Michigan's turnaround is being powered by things we do better than anywhere else in the world. Today's global leaders routinely turn to Michigan to work on their most difficult problems. That's because the engineering talent in this part of the world is simply the best. So many possibilities lie ahead for Michigan's future. These opportunities are here and starting to happen. The vision for the new Michigan. Share it, talk it up, drive it home.
A route map shows you where we go, but not how we get there. Because in this business, there are no straight lines, only the twists and turns of an unpredictable industry. So the 80,000 employees at Delta must anticipate the unexpected and never let the rules overrule common sense. This is how we tame the unwieldiness of air travel until it's not just lines you see, it's the world.
Welcome to MiWeek. Thanks so much for joining us. I'm Christy McDonald. A massive project for Wayne County has turned into a massive waste of money and time and could spell political disaster for County Executive Bob Ficano. 3 years ago, the county approved plans to build a brand new jail downtown to consolidate 3 other jails. It was supposed to cost around $220 million, but it started running over budget. The scope of the project had to be pared down, but even with changes, it could cost a staggering $390 million. Now the county is putting the project on hold, a half-built jail on prime real estate that they've already sunk a reported $100 million into. How did this happen? That's where we start tonight. And joining me, as always, is Stephen Henderson, the editorial page editor from the Detroit Free Press, and Henry Payne, editorial writer from the Detroit News, who is filling in for Nolan Finley. It is great to have you, Henry. Thanks for joining us on MiWeek.
Much of it, have me.
All right, so let's jump right on into this. This is a huge mess with this jail project, Stephen.
Well, I mean, if you start, let's go back to the beginning. The idea that the place where everybody gets off the freeway coming into Detroit to go to the ballparks, to the football field, to this new entertainment sort of center that we're building.
They got a jail right there.
We're going to put a big prison right there on the corner. I mean, that's sort of where this mess started. It was a bad decision then, and then you sort of add the craziness of Wayne County with contracting and planning, management of a project that size, and you know, it's just turned out to be a mess. And so it's a good thing that we have the opportunity, I think, to make a different decision and go a different direction. But this points to an awful lot of problems that we have around here.
Well, then who made the decision initially to build it right there and then to go through this process?
Well, I think we'll get into that. I mean, this is an election season after all. And Benny Napoleon is running for mayor. He's head of Wayne County Police. He's the sheriff. You have Ficano trying to clear his name from an FBI, from a federal investigation. And this, of course, lands in his lap, in addition to all these scandals that have come before. So I think you'll be hearing a lot about this because there's politics involved as well. But I, you know, to Steve's point, it's also interesting to hear the Gilbert people, Matt Cullen and the Gilbert folks talk about this because it is an opportunity to get things right downtown. The state's offering new land out on Mound to locate this facility, and Gilbert's looking at this as prime real estate to help that downtown development. So like the casino, the initial casino's plans, which didn't work out, maybe there's a silver lining in this, and that you'll actually get a better dynamic downtown. How
dangerous is it, though, that you can keep relying back to Dan Gilbert to call in for help to bail us out? I mean, do you go down a line where it's like, hey, you can't always rely on him to come out and save the day and say, well, I'll buy that piece of property.
Right. Well, not just buy it, but you know, this is
develop it.
Playing urban planner, which he has been doing for some time in Detroit. I mean, he's got urban planners on his payroll now who are looking at downtown and the other areas around there and figuring out what is the best strategy for moving it forward. I think that speaks to how broken city government is. I mean, that is one of the prime city government functions, and Gilbert feels like he can't rely on them to do it. And this is a great example. They wanted to put a jail right at the foot of the freeway where everyone comes into the city. So, you know, again, this whole thing just points to so many things around here that are not working the way they should, and people have got to start paying attention and start making different decisions about who's in charge.
But Christy, that is the vacuum. I mean, this city is a leadership vacuum right now, and from Gilbert to the state to Governor Snyder, the folks have stepped into the vacuum. This city is too important to the core of this metro area to be dysfunctional, and so Gilbert has taken over downtown. Or has taken over the city government and the finances. I mean, you even have folks like Jack White coming in and bailing out the Masonic Temple.
Yeah, the Masonic Temple that came out this week, paying their back taxes.
That's right. I mean, you can't have a city like this exist in a vacuum. So these type A guys are coming in and getting things done. That's a good thing.
All right, so let me say, if you're living in Wayne County, though, how angry are you? Cash-strapped county, already in trouble. Spent, what, $100 million already on something, so you're not going to recoup that cost. So now that's down the drain. How does that affect what finances the county already has right now? And come election time, I think people are going to turn out and say, I've had it.
Yeah, no, well, first of all, you've seen some other counties around the country get into big trouble just on projects like this. In Jefferson County, Alabama, which is in bankruptcy right now, one of the things that put them there was a giant project that was mismanaged and where costs just spun out of control. So there is a real danger there. This is real money. The county doesn't have it. So the consequence could be something pretty dire. The other consequences of this, the whole point of this new jail was to build it in a modern way that requires a lot less staffing than what we have now at the Wayne County Jail. You're going to have to retrofit this mound facility much more extensively than anybody thinks right now.
Then we do starting from scratch and actually building a new facility that would have all the technology in it.
That's right. I mean, I think that could be more expensive than as you point out, building from scratch. So, you know, you spent $100 million. They borrowed $200 million of a $300 million bond issue. You're going to end up spending every dime of that now, and I think it's questionable whether that makes a lot of sense given the city's or the county's finances.
Does it make a lot of sense, Henry? Last word on this issue.
Well, I think to look at this holistically, I think it also points to a general trend in government of privatization. I mean, the projects like this show you how difficult it is for government to get business done. Metro Airport, the McNamara Terminal was built by Northwest. Increasingly, Detroit is looking to privatize services. So again, as you look forward, I think this is an opportunity to make things more efficient by bringing the private sector in.
All right, well, let's move on. Under the slightly boring but necessary heading, the budget is done. So what is your money being spent on? Let's take a look at where some of the $49 billion is going, and maybe most importantly, where it isn't going. $15 billion for schools. That includes K through 12, higher ed, as well as early childhood expansion. Also, $350 million to fix roads and bridges. State revenue sharing for local services, police and fire, it's up by 4%. Also, $75 million in the rainy day fund, but no expansion of Medicaid, no funding to implement Common Core state standards. So as the budget stands right now, are you saying, Stephen, that those are maybe the two most important things that legislature needs to go back and take a look at?
Oh, I think there's no question they got to go back and fix those. The Common Core standards in particular are problematic. Now you've let teachers go into the summer, which is the serious planning period for teachers in schools, without knowing what the curriculum is going to be in the fall. You're also now going to hold teachers accountable with these new performance evaluations according to who knows what standards. The MEP, which is our current test, won't do that. This was a major screw up by the legislature that the governor should have, I think, taken a much stronger role in leading them to fix. Medicaid expansion also leaving hundreds of millions of dollars in federal money on the table, costing the state more money. That's not a good thing. But I would add roads to that list. That was another big priority that Snyder laid out in February that he wanted to get done in this budget, and we're still stalled on that.
All right, Henry, do you agree it's a major screw up that they kept funding away from Common Core?
Well, I'm not much of an expert on the Common Core. I'll leave that to Steve. I would point you to the fact that it's June and we have a budget. I mean, you know, Lansing works these days.
But it's a budget without the stuff in it that we need in it.
We do have the stuff we need. I mean, the budget is balanced. We have money in the rating day fund. That's good news for the bond creditors. That's good news for the whole state that the state's running. You don't have this constant year-to-year crisis the way you had under the Granholm administration and the way you have in Washington D.C. today. So there's finally a predictability and a logic to what's going on in Lansing, and to the Medicaid issue. Look, this is a huge problem, not only in this state but nationally. The Affordable Care Act is extremely unpopular in this country. It's unpopular in state legislatures, particularly Republican legislatures, because the potential of cost to states is enormous.
But even if it's unpopular, it is now the law of the land. Isn't there something to the effect of that you have to start carrying through and implementing things that have now come through with this?
Well, it's the law of the land, but it's bad law. I mean, you have California. We just got a report from California showing that California, which has been implementing a similar version of Obamacare on a state level, has seen premium increases of 170, 200%. I mean, this is not affordable. This is not an Affordable Care Act, and that's not just for customers of the act. It's also for states. I sympathize with Snyder, who's been trying to get this in place, because there is a lot of federal money that comes with this, which is important to the state. On the other hand, what happens when the federal government goes bankrupt? I mean, Medicaid has gradually been bankrupting this state. It is now 25% of the state's budget.
All right, Stephen, last word on this.
Well, I mean, I think Affordable Care Act is the law. But let's take that out of the picture. Any healthcare reform has to depend on getting more people insured. The problem with these people, 400,000 people who have no insurance right now, is that we do pay for that. We pay for that when they show up in the emergency room. We pay for that through our higher premiums.
Yeah, but the answer is not Medicaid. Medicaid is the worst.
Medicaid is actually more effective and efficient than no insurance.
It is not. We just had a major study coming out of Oregon that shows that Medicaid patients are no better off, in many cases worse off, than patients who are not on Medicaid. It's a disastrous program.
Let me ask this to wrap this up. So is there any chance that legislators they're going to do any kind of work this summer on Common Core?
I think the governor will try to, behind the scenes, get some work done and then make a big push in the fall before, you know, you still got a month in September when they'll be back, when you can try to get all this stuff done. I think he'll be really focused on this, and it's a slap in his face. These were his three big priorities coming into this session, and he didn't have any of them.